All right, everyone. Good afternoon. We are back. I know it is not Saturday, and I promised everybody we would be doing the Sports Rush Live on Saturday. It just, things got out of hand. Just too many things were happening on a Saturday. We weren't able to get on here. I apologize. I tried. I had a long game in high school baseball yesterday. So on Saturday, I didn't get back into the studio until after 2 o'clock. I wanted Adam Lundy to be able to join the show. He had an emergency come up. He had to deal with something. It wasn't major. It's not, I mean, everything's okay, but he got tied up. I then had to do the prep and get ready for a Tin Caps broadcast last night. It was just too much, and we weren't able to get our live stream on. I apologize for those of you that were looking forward to getting a live stream on for a Saturday. We're going to try to shoot for Saturdays as much as possible, but then sometimes life happens and we just can't get it done. And I apologize. Didn't want to do it during the Indiana Fever basketball game. That was another factor, trying to squeeze it in before the game. And then after the game, I had to be gone, so had to be at the Tin Caps game. So it was just one of those things where too many things happened all at once and we weren't able to get the live stream on. But we're ready, all set to go. And it's just me today. Unfortunately, we can't get Adam on this Sunday, but we've got plenty to talk about. Indiana Fever. How about that opener? Oh, what did we learn about the Indiana Fever? Just one game into the season. I think we learned a lot, and we'll talk about that. Also, we've got to talk about the Indiana Pacers. They now know it is definitely going to be the New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. What does that mean? It is a rematch, or is it, from last year? We've got to talk about that. Also, a big one in the NHL tonight. I know it's not Fort Wayne sports, but it's my sports because I'm a Florida Panthers fan. And so we've got a big one to talk about with the Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Thank you once again for joining us. Glad you found us, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Facebook. This is the place to come to get all of your local sports fix for, and I can't say from 4 to 6 because, well, I guess right now it is between 4 and 6 if you're watching us live. But it's not your daily sports fix from 4 to 6. Now it's periodic sports fix. But here's the good thing about being on YouTube is you actually are able to choose when you take in the content. And whether you watch long form, short form, whatever fits into your schedule, we've got the full videos that many of them are like 11 to 15 minutes long. We've got the shorts. Many of those are 60-second and less. And then, of course, we also have the live show. And we invite you to just participate with the channel any way you can. But the one thing you've got to take care of right now is if you have not subscribed, it is very important that you go ahead and click that subscribe button. And make sure, too, you hit the bell so that you get the alerts of when we're going live, when we've got something happening on the stream. Also, be sure to share the channel. We need you to share us because right now we don't have any promotional budget. We don't have a radio station with somewhat of a built-in audience that's like, oh, I'm just going to push this button and see what's on. We have to have people that actually come to us, want to listen to us, want to hear our content, and I appreciate you so much. I cannot tell you. The support that we have gotten since we were knocked off the radio has been unreal. And it has been flattering. I have been somewhat humbled by it because I realize what we've been trying to do for 9.5 years actually meant something to people. And a lot of times you don't really know what it means because sometimes people don't share the importance of something in their lives until they don't have it as part of their daily lives. And that's what we've seen with the reaction to the show being canceled. Hey, it happens in radio. Shows get canceled. You hope that it's something that benefits the listener if the show's being canceled. I don't agree with the fact that the show being canceled has benefited the listener because to me, sports is always about the local teams. It's always about your community because we have some community pride associated with sports. Those people, those teams, they represent us as people that live in Northeast Indiana. So the Tin Caps, we want to see them do well. The Comets, we want them to advance in the playoffs and not lose to Toledo every darn year. We we want to see the Fort Wayne FC do well. We want to see teams that wear Indiana on their jersey do well, whether it's the Pacers, whether it's the Fever. We've got colleges that so many of our local residents have attended or have followed and supported throughout their lives because some cases generations before them followed them, like the Indiana Hoosiers or the Purdue Boilermakers. And then, of course, not that far down the road, you've got the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and we've got a pretty good contingent of Notre Dame fans in this area. We're covering all those teams. That's what we are here for. And I didn't even mention high school sports. I mean, to me, that's the lifeblood of a community sports scene is your high school sports. And we've got some great high school sports in this area. In fact, I was just talking yesterday, high school baseball and the great history of coaches, legendary coaches that we've had in Northeast Indiana that have helped to nurture and grow our high school baseball scene. Coaches like Chris Stavretti at Northrop, Bill Jones at DeKalb, Coach Sherman at Huntington North just was at Huntington North yesterday. You've got Coach Masucci at Concordia. So many coaches. Coach Derbyshire. We would be remiss if we didn't mention Coach Derbyshire. And today you've still got some great coaches. Coach Bischoff at New Haven. Coach Rogers, who is now at Leo. Hey, we got a big one coming up this week, by the way, with Homestead at Leo. That's going to be a great game. We're bringing you the broadcast this Saturday morning on 1380 The Fan. Hope you do tune in. I'll be there for the play-by-play coverage, and I bet somebody's going to be my sidekick. I don't know who it's going to be. Could be Dean, could be Josh. I don't know. Somebody will be alongside because that's going to be an exciting one coming up this Saturday. But the point being, whether it's high school football, which it seems like everybody in Fort Wayne, which I call the biggest small town in America, everybody knows somebody who might know somebody who has somebody playing high school football, whether it's your neighbor's kid or your neighbor's sister's kid or whatever it might be. It seems like we've got connections to high school football all over this community, and that's why it's such a joy and a pleasure and an honor to be able to call high school football in this area. Really, it is. I enjoy it thoroughly. Be sure you leave comments for us. I believe there's an opportunity for you to leave comments while we're doing the live stream. I don't know if I'll be able to get an answer to every comment, but certainly my software, I'm still kind of learning it. Sometimes I might see the comment, I might not, but I am trying my best to be able to keep up with what people are asking, what people are saying. And if you've got something you'd like us to cover on this show, just let me know, because it's your show. I mean, that's why I'm doing it. I've done it for 9.5 years, haven't taken a dime for doing it, because I'm committing my time, my efforts to share with you what you want to know about the Fort Wayne community and Fort Wayne sports scene. And hopefully you're a more educated fan, you're a more engaged fan because of the time I've spent talking about it. I can't even begin to tell you or add up the value in marketing that the Sports Rush on radio has provided to some of our local sports organizations. I mean, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars a year in the time that was committed to them to talk about them. Did we do it because they paid for it? No, we did it because we understood those were subjects important to our listeners. And so we're still going to try to do as much of it as we possibly can. But your assistance and your help in promoting this channel is going to go a long way in what growth we can have. Now, we've worked to try to create a studio. We didn't have a studio because we were not a visual medium. We were radio, where I didn't have to even have a shirt on. I mean, well, I did, but the point is, now all of a sudden we have to present ourselves. We have to have some type of a studio. We've got to have graphics. We've got to be able to connect through software that those of us in radio haven't probably had a lot of experience with. And so it is still a process where we are learning. You have to have some patience with us. We're going to do our best, but it's not the easiest thing, and we're trying. We really are. We're trying. All right, Chris just popped up on your YouTube feed, checking out the Fever game yesterday. Chris, appreciate you finding us. I really do. I mean, that's what this whole little channel is about, is trying to get connected with people in the Fort Wayne community that care about Indiana and Fort Wayne sports, and you are the man. Appreciate it a lot. All right, let's talk about some sports, shall we? Like the Indiana Fever yesterday, 93-58 over the Chicago Sky. Rivalry? What rivalry? It's got to be competitive first to be a rivalry. And there's not a lot of competition here because the Indiana Fever have taken a giant leap from being a rebuilding project to getting Caitlin Clark and being competitive and being near contender. I don't know if they ever were a true contender for a championship last year, but they were someone who you really didn't want to play because any single night Caitlin Clark could go off and that Indiana Fever team could knock off just about anybody in the league. But this year, they have already proven in one game that they are something they were not last year, and that's a true championship contender. There's no question with what we saw on the court because it wasn't even the best version of the Indiana Fever in the opening game, and they still won by 35 points. Got to be the radio announcer, doesn't it? John Nolan, apparently he's the magic piece that might have been missing. Because this year the Fever now have radio broadcasts, and I wish they had affiliates because I wish it was easier to just turn on your radio and listen to Fever games here in Fort Wayne. That might be something down the road, maybe sooner rather than later. But it sounds like this year it's going to be just local broadcasts out of Indianapolis. So if you do want to listen to John and you do want to listen to the Indiana Fever, you could stream it. You could go online and look at whether it's the Fan in Indianapolis or whether it is WIBC in Indy. One of those seems to be carrying, I think, every game for the Fever this year, and John Nolan's going to be traveling to broadcast it. And one thing that does mean, and I'll just interject here before we finish talking about the Fever, and we've got plenty to say about the Fever, is a big thank you to John Nolan. He came in, I don't think he was expecting Mike Cousins to be departing for the big ESPN network. He took over, and from a very young age, he became the boss at the Tin Caps. He was responsible for game notes. And for those that don't follow behind the scenes, game notes are basically 80% of the prep that is done by a broadcaster for their broadcast. It gives them all the insights, the statistics, the streaks, everything that's happening that broadcasters should know so that when they put on a broadcast, they've got positive and encouraging and knowledgeable things to say about the teams they're covering. And John Nolan was very good at keeping everything up to date and having some stats that had some interest that made the broadcasters look much more knowledgeable than they probably really are. And so big thanks to John Nolan for the job he did behind the scenes, but also what a consummate professional on the mic. When he was broadcasting, he was prepared, he was intellectual, he was emotional to a point where you knew if the team was winning, losing, or things were going well or maybe not going well based on just listening to the broadcast. You got the feeling of the atmosphere. And that, I think, is one thing that a broadcaster brings to the radio especially, is they bring you into the atmosphere that's experienced when you're at the game, even though you're listening on the radio. And John did a terrific job with that. Appreciate all of the service he gave to the Fort Wayne community, calling so many different sports, whether it was Mastodons, women and men on ESPN Plus, or the Tin Caps, obviously, on TV, on stream. And of course, Tin Cap's radio when he traveled with the team and brought us the radio broadcast on 1380 The Fan. But John is definitely going to be missed here in Fort Wayne, but our loss is the Fever's gain. And so congratulations to the Fever, a very smart choice to make John Nolan your play-by-play guy. And he'll do a terrific job there and has already done a terrific job. I had a chance to listen to some of the game yesterday, listen to some of the preseason. He is spot on. But the Fever win it 93-58. So they accomplished two things right off the bat. They prove that offensively, they are going to be very tough to contain. Why? Because they've got so many different players that can put up points. Number two, they are an improved defensive team, a point of emphasis with the new coach, Stephanie White, and even Caitlin Clark is taking the lead. She joked a year ago, if you remember this, before the season. She joked with Coach Christy Sides present that she was hoping she would score enough points that she would make up for the defensive points she gave up. She's not talking that way anymore. She isn't. Now she's realizing that she's a defensive liability and she's got to be better at the defensive end. And guess what? She was actually a pretty good defender against the Sky, getting 4 block shots. She got her hands on some balls. She did a good job on the defensive end, but she's physically stronger. I think she's able to guard better because of her added physical strength. And it's not like she all of a sudden looks like the Incredible Hulk out there. She just has packed on a little more mass, a little more muscle. And that's good for Caitlin Clark because other teams, I think, wanted to rough her up. Now she's going to be able to hold her own a little bit better. She's going to be able to throw players like Angel Reese to the deck. Okay, so I joke about that. Let's be honest about what happened in that situation. First of all, Angel Reese goes up and gives a two-hander right in the back, and I think it was Natasha Howard who she pushed. But she went right up and gave her a two-hander in the back to push her out of the way to get a rebound. Then when the ball gets into her hands, she's got a wide open path because she's already pushed her defender completely to the other side of the basket. Caitlin Clark now is the nearest defender. And so what does Caitlin Clark do? She goes ahead and stops the easy bucket. And when you've got a wide open bucket, which you initiated by pushing your defender out of the way and not getting called on it, it's going to be a hard foul. Too tough. Grow up and accept the result of the play, which is nobody's going to get an easy one against the Indiana Fever. That's kind of their mantra defensively. Nobody gets an easy bucket against our defense. And so Caitlin Clark took away the easy bucket. It was a hard foul, but it wasn't a malicious foul. And I thought, the whole league is so concerned over the appearance of favoring Caitlin Clark that they slapped her with a flagrant one. But there might have been a little bit of an extra little push at the end of it. But I think she was frustrated, and she showed some of her frustration in the way she fouled and then gave a little bit of a push and turned away. I don't think it was personal. It just happened to be Angel Reese, which everybody wants to make this out to be a big rivalry, which from a talent perspective, this is like Michael Jordan versus a Dennis Rodman. This isn't even a comparable talent comparison. And anybody thinks that Angel Reese is anywhere close to Caitlin Clark's level on talent needs to maybe go back and retake Basketball 101 because it's not close. Angel Reese is not a great shooter. In fact, at times she is a poor shooter. She is not as coordinated in her moves and her footwork as what Caitlin Clark is. She is a good rebounder, but she also rebounds a number of her own misses. So there is no comparison. It's not like these are the two best players. This is not Bird versus Magic Part 2. Bird and Magic were two of the best basketball players of their era. That's not the situation we have here. You have someone who has a dominant skill set, they can really rebound, and they're going to get some easy buckets and probably get 10, 12 points just off the offensive glass. But Bird versus Magic were two great offensive players, two very skilled players that were fun to watch, and they both had their own personalities and styles and, as I said, skill sets. Bird might have been more of the shooter and scorer. Magic was the facilitator. He was the one that kind of was the gas that fueled the engine, where Bird probably more the pistons that ran the engine. It just they're two different players, but they were both very talented, and I don't think there's any denying that. That's not what this is. It's just simply two players that had good college basketball teams that seemed to always face each other in the postseason, and one player that got an inflated reputation as far as her skill versus another player who had to earn everything she got because no one wanted to admit she was as good as she really was. That's what we've got here. And Caitlin Clark might have been physical with Angel Reese, but it would have been, I mean, you could have put any player in that situation, and Caitlin Clark would have done the exact same thing to every single player on the Chicago Sky. So don't make me believe that this was personal, that she saw her chance. Because if you want to get a cheap shot in on somebody, you can figure out a way when they're setting a screen or something else. This was just an open player who was going to get a layup. Caitlin Clark said, "Not on my watch." Boom, hard foul. Didn't matter who it was, just happened to be Angel Reese, and so the officials overreacted to it. But the Fever, my goodness, the numbers in this game are just ridiculous for Indiana. First of all, Caitlin Clark, her third career triple-double, and it comes in the very first game of the season. 20 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 4 block shots. Doesn't get much better than that. 19 points from Aaliyah Boston. I said in my video, when was it? Yesterday when I posted the video previewing the Indiana Fever, and I said Aaliyah Boston has to step up because she was drafted with the number 1 overall pick. She was the core for the Indiana Fever. And last year, I thought she slipped. I thought she got most of what she got because of Caitlin Clark, but not because Aaliyah Boston had become a better basketball player. But what Aaliyah Boston did in the opener is what the Fever need from her throughout the entire season. Someone that will give you the 94 feet of running the court. They will make their buckets at the basket and shoot a high percentage. She was 8 for 12. She's had games where she shot under 500 last year. That can't happen because most of her baskets are set up to be layups or right near the rim. She was 8 for 12 from the field. She made her only three-point try. That's a new element of her game. And had 13 rebounds and a double-double performance. Very, very good work from Aaliyah Boston. But they weren't the only two. You had Natasha Howard, her official Fever regular season debut with 15 points. 15 more from Kelsey Mitchell, hit some big shots. She was 2 for 4 from long distance, 6 for 12 overall. She had 15. Lexi Hull had trouble finding range from three-point land, but she was 4 for 6 on two-point tries and had 9 rebounds, 9 points, just shy of a double-double for Lexi Hull. Sophie Cunningham did not play, and DeWanna Bonner became the third all-time scorer in WNBA history with her 7 points. Wasn't a big game for DeWanna Bonner, just 2 for 9 from the field, but she'll be better. She's a veteran. She'll be better. But just a huge win. And defensively, the numbers stifling. 29% shooting for Chicago in this game. They were only 22% from behind the three-point line. And the Fever forced 17 turnovers from the Chicago Sky. That's the type of performance we want to see from the Fever, and I think it's the performance we're going to see. 44-game schedule, that team's not going to get beat more than 4 or 5 times. That team shows up, we're talking 38, 39 wins, maybe 40. Wouldn't it be fun to be 40-4? Because that's like a college team. College teams only, a good college team only loses one or two games. That team's like a good college team in a power conference because they've built that team to be a championship contender. And so far, what we've seen, they nailed it, hit it on the head right there. Great performance. Once again, if you want to leave comments, I'd love to have you tell us what you're thinking. Chris, again, weighing in. Officials and the media overreacted to it. I thought so. I thought it was more sending a message than an actual call in reaction to the physical play. If you look at the play, there's a lot of players that go in with hard fouls as long as they're playing the basketball. That's number one. As long as there's nothing malicious. And again, it's excessive contact that is unnecessary. I mean, it was a basketball play. She had to stop a basket. It was going to be a layup, and that's what Caitlin Clark did, and maybe a little bit of an extra push. But Angel Reese, come on. I mean, it looked like she got ran over. There's a lot of acting on her part. Watch the replay a couple of times and just watch how she just flails when she gets the ball smacked and then dives to the floor like she's been shoved with two hands. In fact, I will tell you this part of it. Caitlin Clark's push of Angel Reese was much less than Angel Reese's push of Natasha Howard prior to getting the rebound. On that same play, watch the full replay. Don't just watch where Caitlin Clark reacts and fouls Angel Reese. Watch what led up to Angel Reese getting in that position, which was two hands in the back of Natasha Howard, a two-handed push to get her out of the way, and then up, grab the rebound, wide open, no defender, and Caitlin Clark, the closest Indiana Fever player, she had no choice but to stop the bucket. And she wasn't going to go up and block it. No, she reached in and smacked it. All right, so once again, leave comments. Make sure you also subscribe. Make sure you give us thumbs up for a like. Make sure you share the channel. We would love to have you share the channel. And once you're a subscriber, then you can leave comments like Chris. Caitlin pointed to the ref to call the push on Howard. Yes, she did. Caitlin saw that initial push where Reese shoved Howard in the back, and then Caitlin looked at the ref, pointed out the foul. Then when she looked back, she saw Reese with the ball and an open hoop and reacted to it and fouled her hard. It's a hard foul, but that's part of the game. Doesn't mean it's a flagrant, doesn't mean, and then they took it a step further. Aaliyah Boston stepped in between Caitlin and Angel Reese. There was no real high-level physical contact other than Aaliyah Boston putting her hands up to keep Reese from getting to Caitlin Clark. And they called Aaliyah Boston for a technical. I mean, the officials decided we're putting an end to it right now, leaving no doubt that we're the ones in control. This isn't going to be allowed. And so that's what we ended up with. But the Fever now have two games against the Atlanta Dream. That should be two wins. They go there, they come back home. There should be no problem winning the two games they've got next on their schedule against the Dream. They play in Indianapolis on Tuesday, in Atlanta on Thursday, then come back home. And next Saturday, mark this one on the calendar, the Fever will be playing the Liberty. That's where we're going to find out if it is the favorite to win the championship or just one of the top contenders to win a championship. Because I believe the Liberty, along with the Aces, because I still think the Aces are going to be probably the best of the rest. I think we'll see just where this Fever exactly is. Are they the favorite? Are they one of the favorites? We'll see what they do against the Liberty. That's next Saturday. It's a national telecast on CBS, 1 o'clock game in Indianapolis. And of course, you know there's something else going on in Indy that day. They've got the 500 parade, and then the next day it's the race, and the Pacers will be playing then on Sunday night. So you've got Saturday afternoon Fever basketball. You've got Sunday early afternoon Indy 500, and Sunday night Indiana Pacers, New York Knicks. Because now we know it is official. Knicks just embarrassed Boston. Did Boston quit? I didn't have a chance to see the game. I was following along on my app. But that was an embarrassment, what happened to Boston. And the Knicks end up winning game 6, so a 4-2 series. Knicks advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. And now the Pacers and Knicks, you keep hearing it, it's a rematch from a series of a year ago, but it's not really, because both teams are going to be a little bit different. The Pacers weren't 100%, but the Knicks were nowhere near 100%. And the Knicks have added a couple of key pieces that are new to this year's roster. So it's a different lineup, and so yeah, I think it's going to be a heck of a series. I really do, because I think the Pacers are playing terrific offensive basketball right now, and the Knicks, who kind of pride themselves on their defense, but that's a pretty good offensive team as well. And so I'm anxious to see how this series plays out. First two games are going to be in New York. It starts on Wednesday. Friday are the two games in New York, and then Sunday night will be the first game in Indy. And then the second game in Indy will be on the following Wednesday night after Memorial Day. But that's going to be one heck of a series. The only concern I've got, what's going to be the advantage in game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals? Is it going to be rest or rust? Pacers have been off for too long. I mean, can anybody remember the last game the Pacers played? Who won and what was the score? Well, we know the Pacers won. How many points did Tyrese Halliburton have? I mean, it's hard to remember the last time the Pacers played. It's been so long already. And we've still got 4 more days before this series starts. Or 3 days, depends, I guess, how you look at it. You have Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. Okay, so 3 full days before this series gets underway. But yeah, the Pacers haven't played in an eternity. They're going to have over a week off between the series clinching win against Cleveland and the first game against the New York Knicks. Long break for the Indiana Pacers, and I hope they don't end up rusty because of it. Give us your comments. Make sure you subscribe. If you're just jumping in here, we want you to be a subscriber to our channel. We want you to click that little bell. Do it for you, not for us. Do it for you, because that's the way you keep up with our videos, with our new live streams, with anything that you need to keep up on with the Sports Rush. You'll have it at your fingertips by subscribing, clicking the bell, giving us a thumbs up, and then sharing the channel. Share the channel with all of your friends on social media. That's the only way we can get any kind of promotion, because right now we can't pay to promote. We can't we can't get a lot of the algorithm favoring us right now from YouTube or from any other social media platform, because we're new. We're too new. We're still doing this for you, but we can't actually promote it. You can. All you have to do is share the channel. Just tell people, hey, give this show a chance. We'll have some videos, we'll have live stream, and we'll have plenty of shorts. And what's nice about the short is if you've got a particular topic that we cover and you just want to get the bullet points, just watch the short videos. They're a minute or less, and you can get pretty much the context of what we're having to say about certain things just simply by choosing to go to our Shorts tab and watching the short video form. Plus, they're loaded with some fancy graphics and some captions. We've tried to be kind of creative on this channel as much as we can be, and we're only trying to improve. So the bottom line is big win by the Fever. Pacers coming up against the New York Knicks. And also, Tin Caps just finished up a series against West Michigan. Tin Caps out what quality basketball looks or quality baseball looks like because West Michigan just showed them how you win with pitching, defense, and clutch hitting because they did all three of it in that series. West Michigan wins 5 of the 6 against the Tin Caps, and the only game the Tin Caps won, they had to come from behind. They were down 7-2 at one point and came from behind and won the game 9-8. And in that game, they scored 3 runs on a pass ball. That's right, a bases clearing, bases loaded pass ball that allowed 3 runs to score. And that's how the Tin Caps got their one win they ultimately got in this series. So a lot of credit goes to West Michigan. They pitched better, they hit in the clutch better, and they played solid defense. Tin Caps had a bad error on the infield today. It ended up costing them 3 unearned runs, and they lose the game 3-2. Disappointing. But it's on to Tuesday. Cedar Rapids comes to Fort Wayne. It's one of those rare times, might be the only time this year. I'm not sure if this is the only time or if there's one more on the schedule, where the Tin Caps play a 6-game series, have Monday off, and then start another 6-game series at home. Back to back home series. And Cedar Rapids is up next. And you've got Wizards Night coming up on Thursday. That's the highlight of the promotional calendar. And of course, tickets are available. Get your tickets. Come on out to the ballpark and enjoy some Tin Caps baseball. Also, we're going to be doing some special videos. And so, if you are a college basketball fan, we're going to start getting into some very specific videos focusing on college basketball and specifically college basketball here in the Fort, starting with Purdue Fort Wayne, men and women. We want to learn who the new names are going to be that are going to be showing up in Mastodon's uniforms because both teams have lost some key players, but both teams have also picked up some really important names. And so I know I've got to get Coach Maria Marcasano to jump in. Coach Kaufman's going to be joining us at some point. His schedule has been kind of chaotic. As you can imagine, the time of year when things usually settle down for college coaches is no longer the time of year when things settle down. You've got NIL fundraising, you've got program fundraising, you've got the transfer portal, you've still got a key month or two of high school recruiting where you're looking at the kids that might be coming in next year, not this year, but next year. So it is extremely busy for the college coaches. And so out of respect for them, I've tried to not bother them and get them on the show as much as probably they would be willing. But both those coaches are so gracious in talking about promoting their their program. And hopefully they're gracious about promoting this show because I could use their help. But we'll get both of them on. The big news over the last week was that Paul Casaro, the coach of the IU Indy Jaguars, was terminated as the head coach. And right now it looks like this one has got a direct path right into a courtroom. I can just tell you that's the way it's pointing because you've got two completely different stories. One coming from IU Indy, one coming from the former head coach, Paul Casaro, who used to be an assistant here in Fort Wayne. He is denying everything and making some allegations against IU Indy, while IU Indy is making its claim as to why a change in men's basketball leadership was necessary. I think it just sounds like this is heading for the courts. And I don't think either side wins when it ends up in a courtroom. Because both sides, if there's dirty laundry, it is all coming out. And I'll tell you what, I know there's a little dirty laundry that both sides probably don't want to hear about. So we'll see what happens with that whole situation. But that's the latest news from the Horizon League. All right, I got to wrap this up. Usually I try to keep it to 45 minutes or less, especially if I don't have Adam. Adam, by the way, everything is fine. He's going to be jumping on when we can. We had to throw off the schedule this week because of the Fever playing a game at 3 o'clock, me not getting back until almost 2 o'clock from Huntington, where, by the way, Huntington North, their high school radio station celebrated their 75th anniversary this weekend. They had an open house, and because I was there broadcasting Carroll versus Huntington, Nick, who runs their radio and TV media program there at Huntington North, he was nice enough to take me over to the school, show me around, show me the radio station, show me their TV studio. I got a chance to tour it all. Thank you very much, Nick. Appreciate that. But it also meant I didn't get back into Fort Wayne until like 2 o'clock. 3 o'clock, the Fever were scheduled to play. They ended up not playing until about 3:20 or 3:25 because of the game before them running long. But I was pretty occupied on Saturday. Then Adam had a situation he had to go deal with, and he was going to delay him. And the problem is, I already had a commitment to go and do the Tin Caps broadcast on Saturday night. So things got squeezed, didn't have time to do a show. But, and today, I had to get ready. And of course, the way things worked out is get up, get the lineup. I put my scorecard together. I'd research all of my stats. And then the Tin Caps had a late lineup change. So I had to go through and redo a lot of the prep I had already done and then race off to the ballpark. So it was a busy day earlier today. So this really was the first chance this weekend to do any kind of live video. And I'm really glad some of you have jumped on, joined us. Appreciate the chat as well. Chris, thank you. But this will be available on video, and hopefully it's the first of many more live Sports Rush shows that we can give you and deliver here on YouTube, on Facebook, wherever you're choosing to watch. Hope you have a great Sunday night. Florida Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. Got to get ready for it. The Panthers, no excuse what happened on Friday. The Panthers weren't good enough, and they should have been prepared. You know, the closeout game's always the toughest one. And the Panthers set it up perfectly, winning 3 in a row after dropping the first 2. They had the game at home. All they had to do was win their 4th straight against Toronto, put Toronto out of their misery, have the fans go and complain and cry about the unexpected postseason loss. Everything was in perfect position. And then the Panthers didn't take care of their own business. Why? Because I think they started to get pretty comfortable with themselves. And they don't even score a goal in game 6. And Wall comes back after having a miserable game 5. He comes back, has a great game 6, pitches the shutout against the Panthers, and a late goal in the about midway through the 3rd period gives Toronto the 1-0 lead. They end up winning it 2-0. And now here it is. Game 7 coming up tonight. Well, you know what I'm going to be doing. That is where I'll be. Let's go Panthers. I've got my red on to cheer on the Florida Panthers tonight. All right. Enjoy the rest of your sports weekend. Enjoy the countdown to the holiday weekend next week. We'll have many more. Once again, subscribe, like, share, and hit the bell so you get the alerts. Appreciate you very much. And thanks for watching this edition of the Sports Rush Live with Brett Rump here on YouTube and Facebook. We will talk soon.